Today on Billy Does Motorcycles, we are going to be fixing my 125 Coolster. It has damaged threads on the bottom of the engine where the foot pegs fasten, just like all Hondas and all Honda replicas or clones. Honda clones is what I'm trying to say. The foot pegs fasten to the bottom of the engine. They don't fasten to the motorcycle frame itself. They fasten to the bottom of the engine. I had my threads damaged on this little 125 Coolster, and I drilled them out, and I tried to re-thread it and helicoil it, and all I ended up doing was causing the oil crankcase to leak. It leaked oil, so I damaged it. And so what I'm going to do today is I have purchased 2 new oil crankcases. They're used actually, but they're new to me. And I am going to install them on my little 125 Coolster and repair it so that I can once again fasten foot pegs to the bottom of the engine without having any oil leaks. So come along for the adventure. I'm splitting the engine, putting new oil crankcases in, and it's going to be a blast. Okay, here we are. We're going to start removing the engine. First thing we're going to do is remove the exhaust pipe, and then the carburetor, and then I believe she'll be ready to start dropping the bolts on the engine and removing the engine. All right, first the exhaust pipe. This was a total mistake, starting with the exhaust pipe. The first thing I should have done was the seat and the front fairing and the back little fairing are connected together, and that should have been the first thing I removed. That was an epic fail on my part. I hope you guys forgive me. It makes watching me remove the carburetor much more difficult with that fairing on. Live and learn. Well, this is the problem when you subscribe to somebody who's new to YouTube and they're still learning how to edit. Somehow during this clip, I eliminated all the sound. So, and I don't know how to bring it back. So I'm just going to commentate a little bit here and just let you know what's going on. This is the problem with these new YouTubers. They don't know what they're doing. They're still learning. This exhaust pipe was a little harder to get off than I thought. It was pretty stuck on there pretty hard. I really had to shake the bike to get it off, but no big, I got it. Okay, here's a good look at the carburetor right before I get around to starting to remove it. Just wanted to give you a good look at what I was up against here. So as you can see, the carburetor is difficult to see with that front fairing in the way, blocking the way. That should have removed the fairing. It would have made it much easier. Right now I'm removing the crankcase ventilation tube, the fuel line, the drain, little drain hose underneath the carburetor, getting the carburetor all disconnected, and just doing the various things to get the carburetor ready for removal, because you don't want the carburetor to be connected on
to the motor while you're trying to drop the motor. And now, as you are about to see, I'm about to get some channel lock pliers. Now, the top part of the carburetor is there's this little bracket on top of the carburetor, and it screws down onto the carburetor, and that's what the throttle cable goes through. And so I am removing the top of the carburetor so that I can pop the throttle cable. It's still connected to the little butterfly sleeve that is inside the carburetor. It's still connected on. I'm just going to leave the butterfly sleeve connected to the throttle cable, and I'm just going to remove that. Although I do run into a snag here because because of where the engine and the carburetor are at, I can't remove the butterfly sleeve from the carburetor because it's hitting the top of the frame of the motorcycle. And so I'm having a little bit of trouble there, so I'm actually going to have to remove the two fasteners that are holding the carburetor onto the intake manifold. You can see the intake manifold there a little bit on your, just to the left of the fairing is the intake manifold. And so there's two little fasteners that are holding on to the carburetor still, and I got to remove those first before I remove the carburetor from the manifold. Alrighty, victory. I got the carburetor removed from the engine and the intake manifold, of course. Just gotta disconnect the throttle cable completely. I think it's still hung up on that throttle cable a little bit. And the little drainage line. Other than that, hey, there it is. It's all off there now. You can still see the little butterfly sleeve hanging from the throttle cable, but that's okay. It can hang there until we're getting ready to put the engine back together. So there we have it. The carburetor's off. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm loosening the back tire, and then I'm going to slide the tire forward so that I can get the chain off. The chain is connected to the motor, and I am not going to be able to drop the engine until I get the chain off. Alrighty, the chain is off. Chain is off. All right, I've got just 2 bolts keeping this engine on. This one and that one. So let's get to that. There. Hey, that came off easy. Alrighty, I'm on my last bolt here before this engine drops. I might have to have one of my kids come out here and help me. So here we are now. We skipped ahead and we're down to the last bolt holding the little 125 engine on the Chinese bike. Last bolt. My son Joshua is coming in to help me, and he's gonna tap the bolt out while I hold on to the engine and lower it safely to the ground. All right, you ready, Josh?
Yes.
Okay. Start tapping that bolt. Start, tap it, come on, tap it all the way through. Go on the other side, see if you can pull it through.
Okay.
Come on, pull it.
I'm trying. Okay, there we go.
There we go. And there we go, the engine's on the ground. Success. All right, let me reconnect that. Thank you so much, Joshua.
You're welcome.
Thank you for helping me out with my project here. You can go ahead and go now, sweetheart.
Okay.
Alrighty, so here we are. We got the engine on the workbench and it's ready to be broke down. And I think I'm gonna end the video right here. On the right, you can see the new crankcases that are going to be installed on the engine. And so basically, in a nutshell, if you want to see where they're at on the engine, they're right here. This area is the 2 crankcases that are joined together. And those are what is going to be replaced with these. These are the new crankcases. When I put those crankcases on the engine will once again have foot pedals, foot pegs, and it won't be a leaker either. So that's 2 good reasons to do that. Well, there you have it. The engine is on the workbench and it's ready to be broke down. We're gonna call it quits here. This is part 1, and in part 2 of this series, we will be breaking down and disassembling the motor in the next video. I never get tired of looking at the inside of an engine, seeing all the parts, how they work together, how they operate to make the engine function. It fascinates me. It never has stopped fascinating me. That's why I still love, even at my age, love tearing these engines apart, seeing how they work and working on them and stuff. It's just a labor of love. Another reason why I started this YouTube channel. It's just a labor of love. I'm having fun and I'm filming it and sharing it, and hopefully you guys are getting some enjoyment out of it too, instead of just me getting all the enjoyment. All right, so please like, share, and subscribe to my channel.
help my channel grow, I would sure appreciate it. And this is Billy